Hello, this video is going to go over all of the skills that you need to be able to perform on your own for the Google Drive portion of the Google for Education Level 1 test. So first we're going to give a tour of Google Drive. On the left side over here, you see the new button at the top. We're going to go over that in a few minutes. Priority you can use if you want. It's kind of Google has its own algorithm for prioritizing what they think are your top used files. My Drive is where you're going to find your things. This is what you're going to have the most control over and what we're going to spend the time going over today. Shared drives can be shared with a team. The Shared with Me section is where you will find files that you don't own but that other people have shared with you. Recent is a great way to find files that you maybe have been using within the last few days or even few weeks, but you can't remember maybe what it's called or where it was. You can go to Recent to find it. Starred is a different location that will help you find things. If you star your most important files, then you can go there to find them. And then you have your trash, and storage isn't a huge issue since we're on the Google for Education side. Our storage is not limited. Across the top, when a file is selected, you have a few extra buttons. So if I have this folder selected, I have the link button, the share button, the trash button, and then I have a few more options here of what I want to do with that specific folder. But before we get into specific folders, let's look up here at the settings. There are some settings that you want to probably check and make sure that you have set. Some people like to convert all of their files to Google files when they upload. I kind of caution against that because sometimes your files don't convert nicely. But that would mean all your Word documents would become Google Docs. All your Excel files would become Google Sheets. So I leave that unchecked. I do that manually. Offline is important if you don't have good internet and you want to be able to edit some of your files offline. This is what we have the students do to be able to access their files offline. This is just kind of a preference on what you want your drive to look like. If you don't like having the quick access files at the top or the priority as your default, I like those unchecked. I like just my files and my folders, but again, that's preference. There's some more things in here about notification and apps that you can go through on your own. This changes how your drive looks. So you might like list view. It'll tell you when it was last modified, who the owner is, file size, those things. I like the grid view. I like it to look like little images of the file in tiles. I think I see more on the screen. This button gives you information about a specific file. So if I want to know maybe who owns the file, who's been working in the file, the size of it, when it was uploaded, any of those things, I can find this by clicking on the folder and clicking on this info button. This can also help me find how the structure is organized. And on the right side, you'll see this in almost all of the G Suite applications. The calendar, Google Keep, and your taskbar stays over here on the right side. If yours is hidden, you see I just clicked the arrow to make it appear. So if I want to pull up my Google Keep list, I can pull my Google Keep list up right there. If I want to look at my calendar while I'm in Drive, I can look at my calendar for the day. So it just puts kind of a snapshot of those things on the right side. All right, let's get into our checklist. First, we want to be able to create folders and subfolders. So to create a new folder, I click on the New button, and Folders my first choice. If I was uploading, I would choose one of these options, but I want to create a new folder. And I'm going to call it Google for Level 1. So I'm going to type in my folder name and push Create. Now, if I want a folder inside that folder, I can just open the folder and then do the same thing again. If I want to drag a folder inside another folder, so maybe I want this one to be inside of this one, I can drag and drop, and now I have a subfolder inside that folder. So there's multiple ways to organize your folders and your subfolders. You can drag and drop, you can create right there. You can go over here to this side and you can access your file structure this way. So I can see what folder's inside of what folder, and it'll show me the files if I had files in there. I can also, you can see that I have some of my folders, or one of my folders has a color. I can change the color. So maybe I want my Google stuff to be yellow. So now my Google level 1 folder is yellow, my delete me folder is red, and I could go through and change all the colors of all my folders. Those colors are only for my view. If I've shared this folder with someone, they can change it whatever color they want. Theirs will be gray on their end. So this is just in your drive for your organization. If I want to add files to my folder, I can click on any file and drag it to my folder. I can open it over here if I want to get to my subfolder, and I could drag a file to the subfolder there. While it's highlighted, if I let go, that file is going to go in that folder. So those are just some ways you can organize. Now maybe you want to search your drive for something. There's a huge search bar at the top right here. I could search for Google Level 1, and it's going to show me my folders. If I want a more detailed search, I could search for the file type, the owner, where it could possibly be located. I could even have a date on there, or item names, has the word, who it's shared with, any of those things. So if I want a more detailed search, there's a lot of search options just by clicking this drop-down arrow. Now, if I need to upload files, let's say I have a file on my computer and I want that file to be in my Google Drive. I'm going to say I want it in my Google Level 1 folder. I'm going to go to New, and I can do File or Folder Upload. And then I just have to locate that file on my computer. So it could be my Downloads folder or my desktop. And then I choose the file, and it'll show you the uploading status, and then it'll appear when it's done and tell me my upload is complete. So that's how I add files to my Google Drive if they're not already there. I could also open the Google Drive window and my computer, the documents or desktop, and I can just drag and drop files right into Google Drive that way. So let's say I want to drag and drop something from my desktop into Google Drive. I can drag and drop it as well. Now let's talk about sharing folders. You can share folders with people. You can give people the link to your folder. And anytime you set the share settings for an entire folder, every folder and file inside that folder has the same share settings. So we're going to talk about this Google Level 1 folder. Remember, we have another folder inside of it. And let's say we want to make everything in this folder viewable to everyone on your team. So I click on the folder, and I can come up here and click on Share here, or I can right-click my folder and choose Share right here. And I get some share options. At the top of this share window, I can type in specific people if I want to share it with a specific person, and I can give them editor rights or viewer rights. If they're editors, they can organize, add, and edit the files inside that folder. If I just want them to be able to see this folder, I can make them a viewer. And also I can choose whether or not I want to notify them or not. if I do want to notify them, I can type a message so that they know why I'm sending them this folder. So if I click send here, that's going to invite Amanda Hurd to my folder. But let's say I want to share this with a lot of people and I want to just send them the link via email. I can change that down here where it says get link. If I choose on change link, I have the option right here to choose restricted Louisa County Schools, which means anybody with a Louisa County Public Schools email address can access this folder if they have the link. Or I could say anyone with the link. That's what you want to do if you're like publishing it to your website or you're sending it to parents since they don't have a Louisa email. But I'm going to choose this one to be Louisa County Public Schools. And then I can again choose viewer or editor. So I can just make everybody a viewer, and then I can copy this link and email this link to whomever needs to be able to see this information. So that's how I would share it by a link. Previously, I shared it specifically to a person. Now, sometimes you want to be able to put non-Google files into Google Drive, which you can do. You can add Word files, PDFs, PowerPoints. The Microsoft files can be converted to Google files. PDFs and images and videos can just live in Google Drive. They do take up your Google Drive space, but since that's not an issue with us, that's a great place for those things to be housed. And then there's a few automated folders you might notice in your drive. If you use Screencastify or Google Classroom, these folders automatically show up. Same with Meet recordings. These are Google Meet recordings. These folders are automatically created by that program, and you should really just leave them alone. So know that your Screencastify files live here, your Google Meet files live here, your Google Classroom stuff lives here. You'll see you have different classrooms in here. But don't try to reorganize them or move them or change the names or do anything like that, because those file structures are generated by the program, and if you decide to change them, they might not work correctly. So those are all of the things you need to know about Google Drive for your Google Level 1 test.